Hey everyone, it's Dan Wardrope from Flexxable here. Really interesting article I read in the Times over here in the UK a couple of days ago. It was about these scientists in America who have discovered a way to remove all of the toothpaste from a toothpaste tube, right? I think they did some maths and figured out how much toothpaste was wasted yearly, and they figured out it was a lot of money, a lot of money, and also it's also bad for the environment, right? So these scientists have figured out a way to use some kind of frictionless material that gets rid of every single drop from every tube. And obviously this is huge when you consider how many people use toothpaste. And Colgate has invested, I think, 50 million or bought the patent or whatever for $50 million. And it kind of reminds me of the way, I mean, it's not the same scale, but the way I see people posting in Facebook groups and trying to get help to be able to get someone to deliver the leads for their clients. So some people are very good at landing the clients, but they're terrible at generating the leads, which means, figuratively speaking, there's a lot of toothpaste left in that tube, right? Because when you do it on a white label arrangement like this, you've got to pay, the client's got to make money, the white label has got to make money, and you've got to make money, and the consumer's obviously got to do well out of it too. So there's four people in that chain, and it just really doesn't work, okay, on scale. In my opinion, it works for some people, and they've cracked that nut, then good on them. But for me, I prefer to hire in-house, and I prefer to be in control of my own destiny. And we have a very specific hiring process that we use when we're hiring media buyers. Okay, so it looks something like this. You'll be able to find out more inside my program, of course, where we've got a whole section on this. But the first thing we do is we write a job description. You get access to those job descriptions inside my program, and then what we do inside that job description is we have a very specific hook or a tripwire that not many people will notice. All right, so it's usually something along the lines of put something in the subject line when responding to this job advert, and also to PDF up the CV rather than send a Word document. We just say send your CV in PDF format, and what happens is that out of 100 applicants, usually about 80 people, I would say, maybe not that much, maybe a bit less, fail on the very first hurdle. Okay, so the first thing we do is remove those 80 people. The next thing we want them to do is we make them do a test task before they move in. So 20 of these people, they do a free test task. We don't pay for this. And it can be to do with media buying related to whatever, or looking at data. And they then come back to us within a certain amount of time. If they fail that time limit, then they're immediately gone. All right, we don't even look at them, and then we look at the quality of work that they've sent, and that's usually a pretty good indication of how good they are. So out of those 20 people that are left, probably 5 make it through to the next stage, and the next stage is a Zoom meeting. Okay, obviously COVID times, we're coming out of that now, but Zoom is the best thing. So it's a quick 15 minutes discussion to have a look at what they're like as a person, okay, and see what they, how they present themselves, how they talk, whether the type of person that you would work for. That's always an important thing to look at. And that 15-minute hiring process, that 15-minute call is just a quick one to see whether A, they turn up on time, B, they present themselves well, they're not scruffy and look unprofessional, and they really care about the role. And out of those 5 people, there's probably 2 that would make it down to the last. And you got to feel for the person as well. You get 2 that make it to the last hurdle, which is a full interview. Okay, and at that point in time, before the interview, would send them the Colby test. I'm not going to go into how the Colby tests work, but they need to have certain characteristics that matches what a media buyer might have. And if they don't, then they're probably not going to be a good fit. So I'm not going to go into the Colby test. Go off and Google it. It's called the Colby test. And then if they look like their personality match is good for being a media buyer, Then we have a full interview and we run through the Colby results and just kind of go through essentially what would be a much more kind of normal interview process at that point in time. So out of those 100 people, there's definitely, we want to whittle it down to 2 that actually have a job interview, and that's the way that we do it. Okay, so, as I said, we have all of this inside our program. If you're looking to really kind of walk away from white labelers and want to control your own destiny and be like these Colgate guys, and Colgate that have been able to take everything in-house, they've obviously bought the patent, then please don't hesitate to get in touch. Not only are you going to get the hiring help, you're also going to get the community, you're going to get one-on-one calls, the group calls with me on Mondays and Thursdays. And you're going to get all this help to really grow your media buying agency, your lead gen, your pay-per-lead agency. So if you're interested, Natalie at flexdigital.com. She's my right-hand girl. She's going to help you with any questions you might have about transitioning from, a white labeler to someone that really does their own stuff in-house. I guess I'll speak to you soon. Take care.